There's a fine line between right and wrong. And somewhere in the shadows, they send us in to find it.
126 actual. Target is in the main house. You have execute authority.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. A lot of people were kind of confused about that name when they first saw it. They go, hey, don't I remember this from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare? Yeah, it's the same. And it's interesting why they titled it that, but I think that I understand why now. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is a resurgent reimagining of the Modern Warfare franchise, and it's interesting to see them say that it's not a continuation, it's not a Modern Warfare 4, but it is a reimagination of the franchise. And I'm really excited to see what this game brings, because going back to modern military warfare in a Call of Duty game is huge. I mean, it affects the entire gaming market, and for us people that really like realistic military shooters, this is something that's very, very important, because Call of Duty and Battlefield side by side fighting for like 10 years straight with nothing but modern military shooters inspired a lot of the shooters that we play today. It inspired a lot of the shooters that we play regularly on this channel. And I really don't think that without the very highly competitive nature of Battlefield versus Call of Duty in those early years of modern shooters, we would have probably not had as many modern shooters outside of Call of Duty and Battlefield as we have today. So having a game like this come back into the limelight, the popularity area of the gaming sphere right now is very, very important. Having a modern military shooter game at the top, possibly again, is something that's huge. Something that's very, very important, because if we do get a lot of success with this game, which already I think this game is going to sell pretty well, because the like ratio is the highest of any Call of Duty trailer in about like 10 years, I think. If this game does pretty dang well, then we can expect other developers, indie developers, other studios entirely to start building more modern military shooter games. Because in the past 5 years, you guys have definitely felt it, and I have too, that there just hasn't been as many modern military shooter games, as well as in that AAA area of titles. We just have had nothing in terms of modern shooters. Now, when we go to Battlefield, they went to World War I, then World War II, and we all know how that kind of went. Battlefield 1 did pretty good, but then Battlefield 5 went to World War II, and it took an entirely just distasteful take on World War II, and I'm not a huge fan of it personally, and I don't think it sold very well either. Then Call of Duty went into the future, and then there was so many futuristic Call of Duties that everybody was asking for a World War II Call of Duty, and then they made a World War II Call of Duty, and it sold the worst of any Call of Duty in like 10 years, and so it's just, there's obviously a lot of disconnect when you get out of modern military shooters. You either have to pull a Battlefield 1 and do really, really well and make a very well, I would say, well-designed game. Although Battlefield 1, I think I have my personal problems with it, I can say objectively that that game is a very solid title and had a lot of new mechanics that we hadn't seen before in a first-person shooter game. But the Call of Duties have just been the same, stealing ideas from Titanfall, wall writing things forever, and then when they made a World War II game, and it just seemed like the most microtransaction-filled, childish game I had ever played. I played it for maybe 2 days. I made one video on World War II, and I think it was the first camp. It was like the Red Dog, like D-Day. I said Red Dog, Dog Red D-Day landings and stuff. That was the only mission I played for my YouTube channel, and it didn't get many views at all. So I just was like, all right, I'm not gonna play this anymore. I spent 60 bucks on that game, probably got like 30 bucks in ad revenue back. But to see Call of Duty go back to Modern Warfare, I don't know if this is a desperate turn of events. I don't know if this was needed for Call of Duty to survive, but nonetheless, I think I'm very, very excited for this, and I agree with the like ratio. I think that people are truly excited to see modern shooters back in the AAA sphere of genre of games, because this is just exciting. I mean, seeing Captain Price up there with, I would think, an ACR in his hand and quad nods strapped to a boonie cap, that's not real. That does not happen in real life. You have to wear one of those skull caps so that the weight of the nod doesn't fall forwards and just like pulls your entire hat off. That boonie hat would fall off the moment he started walking. So what I have heard from whispers and little messages and blog posts here and there is that Call of Duty Modern Warfare is actually going for a much more realistic take on a Call of Duty styled game. First off, locations are supposed to be 1-to-1. Now, I thought of this for a little bit. What does 1-to-1 really mean? That means that if you're going through a cramped hallway or a small staircase, then you're going to be really truthfully packed in there with your teammates. If you're trying to breach a room, you really have to clear every part of the room tactically and methodically, because this game is 1-to-1. Again, what does 1-to-1 really mean? To me, we can compare this back to the good old game called Escape from Tarkov. Escape from Tarkov has a very realistic movement speed. You're a character, you're a soldier really wearing 40 to 50 pounds of gear on you, holding an 8 to 10 pound weapon. You're gonna be slow. You're not gonna be the fastest man on the earth. You're not gonna be Black Ops 3 sliding around corners. You're gonna be a slow hunk of armor and steel and weaponry. And for you to be able to go inside of a building and just run right through, that's impossible. You just can't do that. 1-to-1 in my eyes means that the movement speed might be severely reduced in this title, making it a much more realistic and tactical experience, which I am excited about. If the movement speed is back to a slower pace, then that means that this game could be actually a lot more tactical, a lot more I would guess slow paced than we might imagine a Call of Duty game being. And that might be the thing that might return Call of Duty to its popularity again, is changing the games up. Maybe movement and extremely fast movement mechanics like wall riding, and even in World War II, like the movement was just so fast. Maybe stuff like that, people are tired of it. Maybe people want to experience something a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more realistic than that, and that's why Call of Duty is going and saying that the locations are now 1-to-1. I mean, I can't really think of anything else other than why would the locations were already 1-to-1. Like, I was 6 foot tall in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I walked through a 10-foot tall door, and it looked like a 10-foot tall door. So I would guess that what 1-to-1 means is the movement speed is very close to what you would actually experience in real life as a soldier on the ground, which is interesting. Also, this whole trailer was in-game graphics, and I gotta say the graphics engine has definitely improved. I mean, just like look at the reflections of infrared light on the little MP5 here in this shot. Like, that looks really good. There's even reflections of lights coming from his GP and VG, that quad nods. Ooh, that looks really cool. They've also got the tactical tape up on top of the helmet, just in case you need a little bit of electrical tape during a mission. You put tape on the top of your helmet just so you can peel it off. Infrared light also reflects off of that electrical tape really well, so you can put it on the back of your helmet and make little cat eyes out of it. But yeah, I mean, imagine if you're the player in this scene where they're breaching the house. I mean, that guy's moving pretty slow in the front. If you actually are moving that slowly as a player in the game, I'm going to be pretty interested to see what this game really does in terms of gameplay. We see U.S. military strikers driving through a desert, and then we see a Su-25 Frogfoot just dumping an entire stockpile of bombs. I'm trying to figure out what exactly is he bombing? Is he bombing the U.S. striker convoy? So is it U.S. and Russia? I guess the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare was U.S. and Russia, right? I can't even tell what that Frogfoot was bombing, but he was bombing something, and then it shows this kind of like humanitarian aid getting bombed, and then like people rushing a compound. What I'm definitely primarily excited for in this trailer and in this game is the campaign aspect of it. I mean, I don't even think that they showed any multiplayer parts of this in this trailer, but I'm excited for the campaign in particular because the original campaign was really immersive in my opinion. It was a very arcadey campaign. It wasn't very realistic whatsoever, but still I think these were the games that got me into realistic shooters. Like Call of Duty 4 especially was the game that got me into these type of games. And so I'm excited to see where Modern Warfare takes us, because if it's going back and reimagining the original titles, then we can get a brand new kind of extended storyline of the Zakhaev, Makarov sort of stuff. I mean, you go back and play COD 4 and you realize just how many features that were brand new in that game. I mean, you had toggleable night vision goggles that were actually pretty realistic. You had attack dogs, you had really smooth working weapon mechanics and grenade launchers and rockets and stuff. And also you had a very immersive and thematic campaign that was really nowhere else around shooters around that time other than like maybe Halo. It just overall made a very good experience, and I'm excited to see that in Modern Warfare.